Well, the congressman, some congressmen tended to feel like an accelerated withdrawal should be accomplished, that we should leave the area very soon. The Pentagon was up and down the line for the president. They felt like we should continue with our present plans of withdrawal and in keeping in mind the objective, that is, giving South Vietnam a chance to survive.
So there really wasn't anything new, so to speak, in your visit?
No, there was nothing new. I did find out for myself the many varieties of viewpoints, and I've learned some new problems that the government has to deal with that I didn't know about. Such as, one is, how do we know we're going to get all the POWs back? How do we know we won't get just the 339 that they list? And then we have to think about, if we withdraw, how soon or anytime will the communists come down and sweep the country? And varieties of things. I mean, there are just tremendous amount of problems when you're dealing with this kind of situation. And they really impressed upon me the many problems that the president has to deal with.
There's one particular sentence here that I noticed in your formal report of your visit, where you said, breathing in the Washington air thick with rhetoric, debate, and indecision.
Yes, well, there was a lot of words said to me that one can easily see that it's an election year.
We'll have to do a little adjustment. We were left very short at center. One of these young men had been a center. We'll perhaps have to make a move there. Other than that, the number of moves that are going to be required is surprisingly low. It does take away some potential starters from us, and it also takes away, obviously, at the same time, some depth.
But you feel you will field a representative mean green, particularly in your opener at Texas Stadium, don't you?
Well, we're hopeful that we'll be a very competitive and aggressive team. This is something that we have felt has been a hallmark of North Texas football, and we feel that this has a number one priority in our program. We want to be competitive, and we want to play with a great deal of vigor, and we hope to have some fun doing it. I'm sure that when those kids step on the floor of that new stadium and inaugurate it on September 10, they'll be excited about it and be anxious to do those things.
The next step is to receive some sort of an affirmative acknowledgement from Amtrak in Washington that we were there. We heard these comments, but we do need to have something in writing to us so that we can take it with us and then go deal with the people who have the trackage, who have the passenger loading and ticket selling facilities, or at least find out where we can establish this.
Well, now that you have Amtrak on your side, what are the major problems you're facing?
Well, I guess I'm optimistic.
told him that the court has really allowed busing as a means of desegregation, or has used it as a desegregation tool, has permitted it to be so used, but the court has not said that you must bus. And there is a great deal of distinction between allowing you to do this and requiring that you do so. We pointed this thing out to him and said that we'd like to see exactly where President Nixon stands insofar as this particular aspect is concerned. We had some hope that we would get a definite statement from him and a statement directly from President Nixon as to his stand in the matter, but unfortunately, so far, we have received nothing. We asked him, does he favor busing as a technique? If he doesn't, let us know. If he does, let us know, and we'll pass it on to our people. We'd also like to know what his status is and what his standing is insofar as his fine HEW department is concerned, because they're directly under the President's supervision and direction. We'd like to know what he feels about their guidelines. So far, as I've said, we received nothing from them.
Well, as you know, this is the 93rd annual conference of the Sheriff's Association of the state of Texas. And all of us have mutual problems, maybe some of them more magnified in form in certain areas than in others. But there are any numbers of things that we have in common. If you'll note by the program, we have speakers from Washington, D.C. who will talk to them about organized crime. As you also know, the Labor Department is charged with the responsibility of checking and, where it is called for, dispersing funds that would survivors of officers who have been slain in the line of duty. And these are some of the things, together with many, many other problems that law enforcement has throughout the state of Texas, that will be discussed, and hopefully solutions will be had, the results of these discussions.
since World War II, with the increase in car ownership and the decrease in transit usage and the increase in operating costs that transit companies have experienced, there has been a great tendency to have to take them over and operate them as public enterprises rather than as private businesses.
Your last visit to Garland, you said that there were some problems in the Garland Air Guard unit, but that you hoped that the National Guard would be able to wash its own linen, so to speak, to solve those problems. Have you been able to do that?
I think so, Jerry. I think we've done that now.
What is the situation now with the command positions at Garland?
Well, Colonel Cecil Grimes is the commander of the Garland unit, and Lieutenant Colonel Lord is the detachment-based commander out there now.
Or has the Adjutant General's Department suffered political pressure in one degree or another as a result of the efforts to correct the problems in Garland?
Well, I don't know that it is pressure, but certainly there have been political inquiries made, or inquiries made by political personnel.
The Fort Worth Transit Company, as well as other transit systems across the country, are finding they cannot operate anymore on a profit basis. What's happening is that the ridership is declining to a certain extent, and because of this ridership declining, their profits have declined to the extent where their operating costs and profits are very narrow and there's no profit margin left. And because of that, they've had to make service redundant.
I think there may be a certain amount of, in quotes, credibility gap. It may be more of a communications, or I prefer to call it an understanding gap. The business community, which by and large constitutes the Chamber of Commerce, has to be interested in the people within its market. I don't think that the business community has done the best job of communicating or creating an understanding about how business ticks. A good example has been the many voices raised against business, saying you're doing these things and they're bad. I've been now in chamber work 23 years, and I sincerely believe, if I didn't believe it, I think I'd get out, that Chamber of Commerce is a force for good. There must be some organization, a vehicle, where we get together and bring people together, identify, and either prevent or solve problems.
We have a lot of things going for us. One of the directors of the Amtrak board is Charles Luna. He has indicated to us that he will work with the labor aspect of the routing so that we can work for a 4-hour or under schedule between Dallas and Houston. This would require cooperation, if it is agreed upon by their crews, to have no crew changes between Houston and Dallas. As to facilities, we know that the Union Terminal ownership and management has a reluctance to see passenger service reestablished. The reason is it's been a loser for them, and they're now working and concentrating on freight.
Yesterday we recontacted Mr. John Evans, and he said something to the effect that he was sorry, but at the present time the President is not prepared to make a statement at this time, but he still has the matter under further study.
Well, the rover weighs about 500 Earth pounds, which is slightly more than 80 pounds on the moon. So you can see it's a rather light vehicle on the moon. As a matter of fact, if we had to change a tire, one of us could hold it up. Although with the wire wheels, it won't be necessary. The rover is folded. Its wheels fold in flat to the body, and the body folds up in 2 pieces. And it's stowed in Bay 1 on the left side of the front of the limb. Now, as far as the drive on the rover itself, the control for it is all built into this one stick right here. It has the brake. The brake is the rearward position of this stick. Brake's released now. To go forward, you merely push the stick or the throttle control forward, and it maintains that position, should maintain that speed depending on the terrain. To go backwards, you release the reverse inhibit and just rotate the stick aft. And then to turn, you just move the stick to the left or right like a roll input in an aircraft. And that will turn the wheels and you'll move in that direction. The instrumentation for the vehicle is all presented on this one panel in terms of amp hours, voltages, then temperatures on the batteries and on the drive motors. remotely from the ground. So every time we make a science stop, we enable the television within the communication systems on the rover, and the ground will be able to point the TV in any direction within 360 degrees, elevate it and depress it, and also zoom it. So you'll perhaps have a better view of many things than we will, because you'll be able to watch both of us at the same time.